Hello, and welcome to another episode of Kill Ant Reviews. Today I'll be talking about Peter Rubie's Werewolf. So let me talk about the cover before I go into the whole book. The cover I think could have been a little bit better. The whole plot of the film actually takes place in London, which it was being actually bombarded by the Nazis during World War II. And I felt like what could have been made this a little bit more effective if it shows actually the bomb city instead of what looks like to be actually a untouched version of London. I think that could have been a little bit better. The werewolf and the moon in the background was actually pretty cool, but it could have been a little better. And the same could have been said for the whole book too. It just could have been better. I do like the premise though. The whole premise is during World War II when the Nazis were bombing England. A police officer is trying to figure out what's causing all these attacks. Basically, he keeps finding mostly kids getting killed by some kind of creature, and then you also have one of his adversaries. They also go through his point of view too, and both of them kind of had like pretty bad paths, and it's kind of interesting seeing how those two interact, and also have to figure out how to stop this. There are a few good twists too. Basically, it starts off with a gypsy woman basically getting like forcibly arrested by the police officer, and then she kind of puts a curse which supposedly starts this whole thing. Unfortunately, despite supposed to be a horror novel, I really wish it had a little bit more of that. Because a lot of it is a lot of reflecting between the characters and some kind of awkward dialogue between them and others. Overall, like I said, I love the whole placement of the book. It's like a historical horror. I just wish there was a little bit more horror thing. But then again, I'm not really a huge fan of like horror books. I love the movies, but translated onto writing, it's not as effective. It definitely showed here. By all means, this is not a bad book at all. Like, I was like, oh my god, I hated it. It could have just been my preference. And the book is decent size. Just about 25 pages shy of 300. So it's basically an average size. If you're a big fan of like werewolves and horror and even like historical events, I would suggest that you pick this up. For me, it's just not hitting that whole thing. Do I regret buying this? No, definitely not. I actually bought this several years ago and I finally got around to read it. I didn't regret it. It's like even with certain books that I'm not like a huge fan of, it's like okay, that was not my style, but it was still interesting, and that's how this ended up. Yeah, not much to talk about this, but if I could give it a rating between 1 and 10, it's basically a simple 6. Not terrible, but not great. Well, this is kind of like a short review. I don't like making like huge long reviews. This is nothing really much to talk about. This is decent. So until next time, this is Killer Ant.